Hello, I'm Sally Ann Ashley. I'm an abstract artist and I love everything about the process of creating art. So much so that I developed a course called Creative Shift that helps artists to navigate the shifts in their work, those uncomfortable moments where you start to feel stuck, but you don't really know why. Hopefully, my course has the answers to that. It allows you to take a really deep dive into the whats and whys behind why you create the work you create. To put the course into context, I've invited some past participants to come and share their experience with me in a short series of videos. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you find them relatable. And if you have any questions about my course, you're more than welcome to get in touch and ask me a question. You can find me on the links below and also on any of the social media platforms by my full name, Sally Ann Ashley. Okay, thank you. Today I'm chatting with fellow artist Claire Jarman. Claire came on my course last year and I've invited her here today to share a little bit about her experience and how the course impacted her, both in her practice then and now. So hello, Claire. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Sally Ann. It's really good to see you.
Hello. So Claire, could you start by telling us a little bit about maybe just about your practice, maybe how long you've been creating and the style of work you create?
Yeah, certainly. I sort of did an inward when you said fellow artist. I'm like, no, no.
Oh, I know.
I'm under false pretenses.
Oh.
Yeah, I think probably my path's been quite a bit different from lots of the I felt quite established artists on the course, although it was mixed. But my creativity has been really a part of my life that has been sort of under a dust sheet for decades, really, I would say. As a child, creativity wasn't valued at all in the home. But I had really happy memories of creating with my grandmother, with yarn and fabric, and like my happiest memories looking back as a child are being with yarn and fabric with my grandmother. And at school, and did needlework. Used to do needlework. It was GCSE O level. I think it's called textiles now, but that was my happiest. But it was never valued. And it never. It seems bizarre now because it made me so happy, but it didn't occur to me to do it at A level or university or anything. I went down a very, very different path. And then I can see as a young mother and building my career, I was created in different ways. I would have said until about 3 years ago, no, I'm not creative at all. But I can see that I was creating. I loved having plants and growing a garden and doing creative things in my home, but not what I would have thought of as being creative. Yep. I did manage to raise creative children. I have two artists. Two of my sons are artists.
Amazing.
So that's sort of surprised me. That was never my creation. Yeah. And then I retrained. Probably about 12 years ago, I went through a really, really adverse period in my life, and I really reconnected with my creativity then. And I started to learn to make patchwork quilts, and I spent a lot of time with creative women. Creating again, starting to sew, reconnected with my love of crochet, and it really fed my soul. I felt like it was just, and that hasn't really stopped. But there was never anything like paint or anything involved in my life. Although as a child therapist, I'm a child psychotherapist, I was using art and art materials with children to explore their feelings through mark making and colour. And then just over 2 years ago, I woke up, and I'm very sort of Jungian in my life philosophy. I woke up and I just thought, I have to paint. And I went rummaging for my children's old paint. I have never, ever, I haven't painted since I was in school. Wow. Probably in the infants. And I just felt utterly compelled to paint. And then since then, I have continued, although it felt like a very stop-start process. And that's been a part of my process, about me allowing myself to have that, to almost having the audaciousness to say that I paint, or that I want to, or I could carve space out in my home. I have done that, and that did further nudges through Creative Shift. And when I went from pieces of paper to big pieces of wood, and have a very small but dedicated space in my home. And I work with acrylics and some collage, but largely acrylics, on tried all various mediums. I like paper or wood, and have, as you know, got acquainted with my local wood merchant. Yes. And buying wood panels from them, and working lots of layers. Really, I like layering. My process is really about exploring my own internal landscape, or the internal landscape that for me is evoked by my work with my clients.
Okay.
I don't show my work anywhere. I wasn't brave enough to have a folder on Creative Shift.
Okay.
It's quite a personal process. There is some pieces up in my home, and that my children have taken, but it's quite a personal process at the moment for me. And it's been a path that can quite easily get marginalized in my life. Okay. And that was a huge part of doing Creative Shift. Yeah.
I was going to say that. So when you saw the course advertised last year, what drew you to it? Why did you decide to go for it?
Yeah, it was, I'd actually had, I'd had a very difficult year last year. I'd had loss of some very important people in my life. And I had also had I'd had some surgery personally. And I felt that I had again felt compelled. I must be painting, and I had cleared time professionally. I'd reduced my hours, and I had deliberately adapted my life, so I still have plenty of time for being creative. But I was feeling quite stuck, sort of psychologically and in my art. And so then the course was brought to my attention. And just those three things, it just felt like the most amazing synchronicity, really, that I suddenly had time. I felt very stuck. And there was something about the title of the course, the shift. I think that I felt like I needed a creative shift. The words themselves really spoke to me.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It seems like it just all aligned for you, and yeah, it just felt right. So what was your experience of Creative Shift?
Oh, wow. Gosh, it was so deep and so broad, and it's almost felt like going into looking at my notes again today. It's almost like a spiral, and I can just keep going back in, and the path gets deeper, or so that doesn't really answer your question. It was very nurturing. I felt very held in the process by your very visible, very attentive presence to all of us who took part. Felt like it was lots of permissions were given. What really spoke to me was that really working on my inner process. That it wasn't about, this is how to harmonize, or how to, mix your colors. Of course, all those things are important. But for me, the journey is very much an inward one.
Yeah.
That part of me is compelled to have a voice on paper or wood. And so for me, Creative Shift was just that invitation, really, to go inwards, to look inwards. I felt safe enough to do it in the environments that you created. And I loved the very clear structure. It was very easy. I did have I wonder how it will work on Facebook, but it just worked absolutely brilliantly, and be able to go back and revisit elements that were all very accessible. So very enriching.
I think you just used a really important word there of invitation, because it is that, isn't it? And we can only explore as deeply as we can go, or we can access, or we want to access. So it is definitely the reminder that it's not, I'm not giving you a how-to process. It is literally an invitation to discover what might be there for you, or where you might want to go, or what comes to light with things. So yeah, that feels like a really gentle way of describing it.
It was an invitation, and I was very open to that invitation, and felt able to really just dwell on my process and take risks in the safety. It was like felt like a sort of a crucible or a container, really, for that invitation to be explored within.
So did anything shift for you?
I think I actually describe myself as an artist.
Wow.
The space got bigger. The space got slightly bigger at home. I was during the course of the shifted for my partner as well, because they were they were very participant in clearing spaces, building shelves, so that space was cleared. And just I felt like this sort of, again, it was a bit like waking up and thinking, I've got to paint. It's like, I need wood, and I need big pieces of wood. So that shifted.
So what do you think that was? Freeing. Was it a realization in you, a permission, or a newfound, like, I'm thinking a newfound confidence to give you that? But I think the confidence must come from, because we don't just get confident the next day, but it's almost like comes from an acceptance, a self-acceptance that I can do this, I am where I am, and I can take the next step. And once we start doing that, I think the confidence builds. So is that kind of, I mean, how did it happen?
How did it happen? I think it was so, it was all sort of all bits that were woven together, really. I think it was the container of the course, the invitation, my willingness to step forward, the encouragement of the other women. I know it wasn't all women, but I experienced a lot of care and nurture from other women on the course who were far more experienced than me in their creative journey. But I felt that they sort of, just sort of showed me a path, really, along with you. And I think it was something for me about actually the shift changed from actually thinking I had to make something that looked good to actually realizing that it was the process itself that I that's what feeds me, is just the doing. Anything that comes out the other end is almost a sort of byproduct, really, of it. It is the doing that fed me, and I think I allowed myself to be fed.
Nice.
On the course.
I think you just touching on that there about the group that we were in, what I really loved is that, like you said, everybody was on such a different stage of the journey, but everybody can relate to it. We've either been there, or we're there now, or we're heading there, and it's kind of like we're not, the jumps aren't too far apart, so it's all relatable. And it was it felt really nurturing, and how we can just learn from one another.
You certainly created a sort of magic, really. It felt very magical at times. The connection.
Okay, so in terms of your commitment to it, like time-wise, how, like, roughly, how long would you say in the week that you allocated time to it? I'm just thinking a lot of people are maybe caring for others, or have children, or full-time or part-time, and how did you sort of manage it around your life?
Oh gosh, that's hard to recall, actually, to be honest. I felt that it went too quickly for me. I think in my feedback, and I think the new structure is there's some pause weeks. And I think that's really helpful to me. I think it was part of the permission was actually realizing that it didn't matter in week 5 if I was on week 3. And initially I was like, oh, I haven't done them all. And that was completely self-imposed. And I was like,
hold up.
Pause.
Yeah, pause.
Creative shift, but a creative pause.
Yeah.
I find that very difficult to say. I mean, a few hours. Definitely. And I've booked on to do the next course, and I've got it marked in my diary. Not that I feel like I have to, but it's like a gift to myself. It's like, actually, I am going to prioritize this in my life. I am in a time of my life now where I can do that, which I'm very grateful for. But I think because the material is available, and it didn't matter if initially I didn't join in the calls because I was slightly out of sync, but then I would listen to them on my walks, and I was like, oh, but I want to be there. And it didn't matter if I was on week 3 and other people were on week 5. It was just very enriching. So
okay. Because the time that we give ourselves, it is a gift, but I'm just thinking sometimes we are short on time. But did you find yourself coming back in the week, like maybe if you were doing something else like cooking or, like you say, out walking, did you find yourself just even snippets just linking back?
Oh, very much. Oh, right across my whole life, whether it was noticing how I arrange food on a plate or noticing what I noticed, allowing those nudges either from the universe or from my unconscious, just to just in my conversations with my children and in my work with my clients, just I felt like I was able to be a vehicle to give them more permission in the room. So
it's incredible, isn't it, when it's not and we didn't pick up a paintbrush once. All of these things, it blows my mind how much everything is so connected. It's so wonderful.
Taking pictures, saving pictures of other people's art, what I liked, it was brilliant. It's like once you can't unknow.
That's what I was thinking. You can't once you open the door on this way of thinking, you can't go back because there's too much. So how has the experience impacted your practice? So within Creative Shift, I obviously share lots of tools. Is there any of those like tools that have really stuck with you and that are supporting your practice now?
Perhaps thinking about the sort of the words, the shift words, that sort of visual meditation, really sort of meditating with those words, sitting with words that are evoked. For me at the moment, quite a lot of it's been sitting with the fact that I feel like I've allowed my path to get marginalized somewhat at the moment, and just trying to explore that. I guess just some of the kindness and compassion about my process is probably just fed right through. The nudges massively, that's just an ongoing thing about life generally, I think. I really like that word. I think I have been open to these messages, but I wouldn't have used that word, but that word feels really, really good. And then noticing what I like about other people's work. I've put lots of the pictures on my board, or I've saved pictures of other people's work just to, I like that mark and that with that colour, and just to feel like that's okay to learn from other people who are further ahead on this journey.
And it helps to understand yourself more, why do you like those things?
Yes.
What's firing you up about that? Because that could be anything. When you're, at the supermarket, somebody else's work, when you're, it's just that thing of noticing, but really taking that on board a bit further and understand it. It helps us to understand what we want in our own work a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And why does that colour evoke that in me? One of the other things that's happened is I'd forgotten about this. We were talking about just like, I can remember you talking about, you know, what do you notice when you look around your home? What have you done? What colours have you used? And I can just remember going, I hate those bloody cushions. So like, why have I, so I've like, all my cushions have been recovered. I've been sewing and making all these like bright coloured cushions. I was like, oh, that's my soul fed now.
Brilliant. So when I say what shifted for you, actually, I've changed all my cushions.
Yeah, I changed all my cushions.
Yeah, that was the biggest shift.
Like people walk in and go, oh, do you have any sunglasses? No.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, but it's good because it gives you the fire, doesn't it, to think,
yeah,
you know, what am I accepting here, and what do I want? Because now when you look at those cushions, I bet that brings such like
it does.
It's amazing.
So I may not have actually been as painting as much over I found the dark months, I find them just quite difficult anyway as the older I get. But actually, when I think about it now, I've done lots more sewing than I've done for ages. So it continued in that vein.
And it's just staying, you know, it's like I talk about our creative practice as a whole. We don't need to be in the studio and with a paintbrush in our hand, you know, it's your creative practice is your life, you know, your creative practice is your walk when you take your photos, when you, you know.
No, it is. That's right. I mean, I think that is probably one of the key, when I, you know, it's interesting here you describe it like that again. And obviously I've heard you describe it like that before, but I think, yeah, that is how it's changed me, you know, even like, well, how could I possibly paint in that pair of tight jeans? I need to be comfortable. And
me. So you've signed up again for the course this year in April. So what made you you touched on it earlier, but if you could just talk a bit about what made you come and join again.
It was just a no-brainer, really. Firstly, I didn't want it to end, the connectivity, and I just know that there's in my work, I think in so much in layers and shadows and things that are seen and unseen, and in my internal process, in my soul, there's just so much more I want to have, and that I can have, and that I find very difficult to give myself permission. So
I get it.
Yeah, it's a huge part of that. It's taking that, it's being audacious again,
and taking the time for yourself. And I think it feels emotional there because we're like valuing something that we're not usually conditioned to. You know, there's usually no value placed on creativity. Like you said at the beginning, when you're a child and when we're at school, it's just something you do, and then it's like, I didn't even know that was available to be that, do that as a job later in life.
Definitely.
and even when you're edging into it, it's like you say, like even calling yourself an artist, it's like, so it is an emotional process because you're saying this is something I value that many people don't understand, you know, but it's like, if we do have that little nudge, that little call in, I just feel it's just so important to listen to that because we just don't know what's available to us. You know?
Absolutely.
Unless we sort of scratch under the surface, we don't know what that potential is and just how fulfilling it is in life, on a different level to whatever materialistic or possessions can offer you as a human. You know.
No, definitely. So it's I just want more of it. It will support my journey to do that. And I'm really excited. Really excited. It's all marked out in my diary. I think I'm on holiday for the last week of it, but that would be strange. But I should be in Portugal, so I should be taking lots of nice pictures.
Lots of inspiration. Okay, so if there's anybody sat at home watching this now and they've seen Creative Shift and they're on the fence about it, or they're thinking, oh, I don't know if it's for me, what would you say to somebody?
Do it. do it. Don't hesitate. Don't pause. If you feel a tug, a nudge, a pull, I said to one of my friends, it's life-changing if you get the chance. It's soul work, and they're signed up to come on it.
Oh, amazing. Oh, you made me shiver then when you said that, because I think, yeah, geez, it is. And I love it. I just love it.
Yeah,
okay.
and that comes over. I think I said to my friend, I said, she speaks our language.
Oh,
So.
cool. Great. Oh, Claire, it's an amazing to chat to you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Yeah, brilliant. I loved witnessing your shifts and just your whole journey through it. So I look forward to seeing you again in April.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a real delight to travel back to the first course and to think about it with you. Thank you.
All right. I'll see you soon. Take care.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.